Hey guys, Thunclan Gaming here. We're going to continue with our good or food guide, and today we are going to be doing the fire nat 3s because we finished all the nat 2s in the last video. So without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, we're going to start with the fire fairy. This is a 3 hit on the first skill, and with a stun. This is a 2 hit on the second skill. And this is a 4 to 6 hit on a third skill. Now, personally speaking, I think this is a decent necro unit because first of all 3 of her skills are multi-hit. Second of all, her base HP is 8,400 HP and her base attack is 725 at 6-star max, which means that these stats are pretty decent for a PvE unit. They're definitely not suitable for a PvP unit because of the fact that 725 is pretty low, plus a multiplier on the third skill, which is 75 times 4 to 6, is pretty low as well. So you're not going to do as much damage in PvP, but I feel like in PvE this is pretty good. Now, how do you ruin her? I think for Necro, pretty much you want either Violent Revenge, attack crit damage attack, which helps with the boss, or you can go Despair Revenge for the first 4 stages, also attack crit damage attack. If you go Despair, you pretty much don't want to make her do that much damage because let's say you do a lot of damage and you get stolen. What would happen is that the boss will steal you and you will use the third skill, which will stun your entire team, and then pretty much makes the run a bit more dangerous for things that needs cooldowns like Colleen. If she doesn't get her skills, she gets stuns, then yeah, it's gonna kind of wipe you if that happens. So yeah, this one's a Necro monster and I think she's decent. Next up is Lukasha. First of all, this is a 30% attack power from fire, and I'm just gonna say that she is also a necro unit. First of all, you must understand that a lot of the teams at the current state are full of fire units. They build full fire teams, which includes a Shihua leader skill, and pretty much you don't need pretty good runes in order to do necro with just Shihua leader skill. And for people who don't have Shihua, can kind of use this monster as a substitute. 30% attack power compared to 40% is not that low. So yeah. This skill has an armor break. At max skill, it will be 100%. This skill hits for 2 to 4 times, which is also pretty decent. And this hits 6 times. And this is pretty much, it helps non-boss stages because it decreases all the attack bars of every single person hit by 20%, 100% of the times. It's like 100% activation rate. So if I want to ruin her, I will go Violent Revenge. Actually, Revenge is not extremely useful because this one only hits once, so I guess anything. Violent anything, attack crit damage attack. One thing to know is that her base attack is 889, which is extremely high, and her base HP is only 6,915 at 6-star max. So pretty much you want a little bit of HP on her so that she doesn't die easily. But as a monster in Necro, she is pretty good. Also, make sure to let her move after all your other monsters move, except your slower, except your monster that wants to land slow. So let's say you're using a Smokey or a Fuko, then let Fuko move last and let her move second last, so that your monsters can break the shield, you can land your armor break. And yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea to bring 2 armor breakers if you want to bring her. Let's say you bring her and Panda, you use her leader skill. It's pretty good because Panda can armor break with first, and their AIs kind of prioritize other skills first, so pretty much you definitely want to, if you don't bring Bella, you definitely want to bring 2 armor breakers because 1 is probably not enough, let's say you actually do get the shield down, but then you don't land armor break. That's kind of awkward, wouldn't it be? Okay, so next up is Rauk. Rauk has a 730% multiplier on the first and second skill, and base HP is 9060 and base attack is 681. If you have ever watched YDCB use this monster, you can tell that it's a pretty fun monster. However, I probably don't recommend it for late game use, as it's pretty much just a toy. Because like, if you just want to win stuff, then you want to bring things that are reliable. This is not reliable because it's 30% chance to proc, and this is not reliable either because unless you only have one ally left, you're pretty much decided by RNG to see who gets to team up with him. The monster who gets to team up with him gets 1 turn reduced cooldown, which is nice. And yeah, if you don't kill anything, this passive is useless. So if you want to use him, sure, go for it. But I'm not so sure about late game use on this monster. How do you want to ruin him? Violent Revenge, attack, crit damage, attack, or triple revenge, attack, crit damage, attack? That's probably the most common meta build for him. Early game, Faimon normal, he's pretty easy to farm. Just go Fatal Blade. Triple attack is fine. Attack, crit damage, attack, you kind of need a little bit of crit rate. He's also pretty decent in secret dungeons for early game because you can just kill one thing, proc, kill one thing, proc, kill one thing, proc, etc. You can also go triple blade if you want to, and the rewards you get from Chiruka remains are pretty decent for him. Go triple blade, attack, crit damage, attack. You pretty much have enough crit rate in order for him to be decent at farming Faimon normal. This is if you don't have any other farmers, right? Alright, next up is Crackdown. So this monster is very interesting as for TOA hard 100, there is a person who used this monster at 5 stars. Violent, speed, HP with some accuracy substats. So that rotation was the Atheros rotation, which is the male boss. And if you just want to use him there in TOA hard 100, then you just go Violent, because even though this skill has an AoE, it's just one skill, and I don't think that Despair is that useful because these two are just single target, right? So attack debuff on first skill, stun on second skill, and attack bar decreased on third skill. Pretty much he used this monster to pair it up with Mauve and Spectra. So they have slow, they have 2 attack bar reducers, and Beretta, so the boss never moved. So this is an option for people who never pulled a Hua. And you can use the team that I just said. It's pretty much farmable, pretty much. So yeah, this is something to think about. Also, I'm not so sure if you can use him for the female boss. If someone has data on that, then feel free to comment. And his base stats is okay, 8,235 HP and 648 defense at 6-star max. Alright, next up is Foul. So this monster has a 400% multiplier on the first skill, which removes a buff with 75% chance. Second skill is a kind of like a 8% max skill times 3, and decrease attack bar by 30%. This is only on one monster, so it doesn't do much. Third skill is a provoke for 1 turn plus 30% damage reflection to the opponent. So what this thing does is pretty much nothing, because first 2 skills don't provide enough. His base stat is decent at 12,015 HP, but I'm not sure if you ever want to use him. Let's say he got immunity on his 3rd skill, then he'll actually be decent because you can just use him to tank water units all day every day. But currently he doesn't, so 1 armor break and he's pretty much dead, even though it would reflect a lot of damage back to the opponent. But still, I wouldn't build him. Next up is Kugo. Kugo has an 180% attack plus 250% defense on first skill. Second skill is AoE 250% defense. and this one is a stun and a provoke, while this one does a dot, AoE dot. And finally, the passive is a reduce damage by 40% when your HP falls below 50%. I guess the passive is not that bad. It's a lot better than the water vagabonds, but I still don't think this is a very good monster because I don't think it brings enough damage or anything. His base stats is pretty decent, to be honest. It's 10,545 HP and 725 defense, but his speed is pretty abysmal at 89. If I were to use him, I would probably make him slow and like triple revenge and to tank water units. But I still don't think he's good. Just don't do him. He doesn't bring enough to, because even if he revenges, it's on a water unit, so you're most likely gonna glance, and if you glance, then you won't stun or taunt, so it's pretty much useless. Alright, next up is Spectra. This is a very strong monster. I never built one, but I know that he's very strong. A lot of people use him in TOA Hard and Dragon Speed 10. So first of all, his first skill is, the multiplier is his speed plus 90 divided by 0.55. So it's not as high as, obviously, Theomars, right? But it's still a pretty decent skill. You can kind of ignore it because you're pretty much building speed anyway, but then just use it as a filler when your other two skills are not on, don't have the cooldowns, right? So the second skill is a 350% attack plus 18% of the enemy's max HP damage, although it consumes 10% of your own HP. This skill is extremely strong. So one of the main reasons why he is used in TOA boss stages is because of his max HP damage. If you land armor break on the opponent and then you use this skill and it crits, it will do a chunk of the boss's HP. So I think to ruin him, you want early game, your Dragon's B10 team should probably be Swift, Speed HP, and then later on, if you want to use him as a monster to help you clear TOA hard faster, or even speed clear dragons, then go Violence, speed crit damage HP. Obviously mid game you can go speed crit rate HP because you probably won't have enough crit rate substats, speed, HP, and accuracy in order for him to work. And I think for PvP he's not steady enough. Like, I know that like this skill only has a 50% chance to land the attack bar reduction, so even though it lands a slow 100%, it's still not very. And we just want to win, right? If we want to win, then we don't want a low chance to proc. And one more thing to mention is that this one will not glance because it doesn't do damage, so you can use him against any kind of element on TOA hard, and I strongly recommend him. And his base stats is 126 speed, which is the fastest monster in the game, 9,060 HP at 6-star max, and 637 defense. So all of these stats are pretty decent. And yeah, I strongly recommend him if you are having trouble with TOA hard. Next up is Tagaros. So this monster has a 390% multiplier on the first skill, 270% multiplier on the second skill, which is AoE, reduces defense. Third skill is 390% attack, and it seems like it's an AoE as well. Yeah, this skill is an AoE. However, you only stun your main target, and the rest of the targets you inflict continuous damage. So first of all, I want to mention that at 6-star max, his base attack is 911, which is exactly the same as the Water Chimera, and that is insane. That is a lot of attack. Although he's very squishy, which is 7,740 HP and 384 attack. Defense. So that's some. Of course, if you want to do a lot of damage, you have to have some drawbacks, right? Except Theomars. He's just I'll stop. Anyway, so he has 2 AoE, and pretty much if you don't have a Rika, Zyros, or Fire Homunculus, and your mid game you want to bring a Fire AoE damage dealer, you can kind of build him. He's pretty slow at 95 speed, and if you ruin his speed slot too, he won't do that much damage. But I think a slow will shield team will still kind of work, and or you can, for fighter level people, you can bring a Chloe in order to shield and stop the opponent from killing you on the first turn. He will definitely do pretty decent damage. So yeah, the way I would ruin him is probably Rage or Fatal, Will, attack or damage attack, with a Will shield team. And there's also another build for TOA. I think you can ruin him speed HP because this one gives attack bar, this one AoE armor breaks, and this one has a stun plus a dot for 3 turns. So I guess it's, you can kind of use him for TOA or TOA hard. Next up is Kali. So Kali has a 380% multiplier on the first skill and a 300% multiplier on the second skill. So this one is an ignore defense skill, so it does a lot of damage if you ruin her properly. Finally, this one increases attack power and attack speed of all allies for 2 turns, and she gets invincibility for 1 turn. So this monster has an 878 attack and 6255 HP at 6-star max, and with rage set and good stats, you would hit around over 40,000. Of course, you have to ruin her attack or damage attack in order for that to happen, and I recommend Rage Will on her. There's also another kind of ruin build which YDCV used quite a while ago. I think it was Swift and Speaker damage attack. So the point was to make his Steel Mars do more damage without using Bernard. I think you didn't build one back then. And so the first, yeah, they buff first turn, and then it can still do around 30k. But his ruins are extremely good, so pretty much normal people can't do the same build and do as much damage as him. Next up is Kungen. So this skill, and this skill all scale with attack. This one even has an over 800% multiplier. However, his base attack is a pitiful 384. I don't think I've ever seen a Nat 3 with such a pitiful base attack. So yeah, he's not gonna do damage, he's not gonna really do much because these things are just provoke, stun, etc. So don't build him, just don't build him. And next up is Garrosh. Yeah, I think that's how to pronounce him. So this one disturbs HP recovery. This one's max HP damage. This one has a 16% max HP damage times 2, so it deals present damage. However, I feel like so basically this is like a mini Chow, except it's a lot worse. The best thing I saw him do was solo win B7. Win B7, do left tower and then middle tower. I think something like that. It took around 25 to 30 minutes. I forgot. That was back when it just started, and I had a Garrosh rep. And yeah, I just left it there for like 30 minutes. Every single win day, I leave it there for 30 minutes for him to finish. I feel like as a damage dealer, his cycle is too long as it's 3-turn cooldown. But if you bring him as a tank, he doesn't bring enough to the table. It's like, this is a stun on a long cooldown, and then this one is a HP recovery disruption. I don't think it's that good as a full tank. Yeah, but as a damage dealer, only one skill with HP and it's a very long cooldown. So yeah, his base stats are pretty decent. He has 12,015 HP and 115 speed. So if you really want to build him, probably something like Violent Revenge, triple HP, probably. And yeah, next up is Geoffrey. Okay, so Geoffrey has a base attack of 571, base defense of 670, and base HP of 8,565. He used to be used in Dragon's B10 because back then, Dragon's B10 gave invincibility, and then this skill, recovers 30% of HP, and also you can steal the invincibility. So basically, you just bring him, take him to the boss stage, and then he can solo the boss stage. But since the change, they transferred Dragon's invincibility into immunity and cleanse, so you couldn't really use him anymore. So don't ruin him, he is food. Next up is Ceres. Okay, so Ceres has a 380% multiply on the first skill with an increased chance of landing a crit. Second skill is 270 times 2 with 40% chance to land a dot for 3 turns. And third skill is actually has a 700% multiplier with a 70% increased chance to land a crit. Also, actually she has a attack speed leader skill as well, so I think she's pretty decent for early game nuker. Her base attack is 801 at 6-star max, and her base HP is 10,050. I don't recommend putting her over 5 stars though, because I feel like she will fall off pretty hard, and the way to build her would be Fatal or Rage. Early game you probably don't have Rage runes, so just go Fatal, and then get 30% crit. And then with this attack you will always crit and do pretty decent damage. Yeah, that's all for her. Next up is Mei. Okay, so Mei has a 380% multiplier on the first skill, a self buff, crit, and counter attack with the second skill, and third skill is a 740% multiplier, which reduces enemy attack bar to 0. I feel like if this skill had a higher chance to stun, so at max skill it has 45% chance to stun, if this one had a like 75 to 80 to even higher chance to stun, I think this would be a pretty decent monster as a Despair Revenge Stunner. But currently I don't think she's worth it, simply because of the fact that this skill actually doesn't do much. This one does pretty decent damage, but her base attack is pretty bad as well. It's not that bad, it's like okay, but then it only decreases attack bar. Rather bring a Roid or something, right? Alrighty, next up is Cayenne. So this monster actually has some pretty decent potential. This skill has 18% max HP damage, which is pretty nice. Armor breaks, same with all Vagabonds. This one is the attack debuff of the Vagabonds. And this one is an AoE provoke for 1 turn, but you get defense buff for 3 turns. So pretty much at max skill, this one will be at 3 turn cooldown, so you will always have your defense buff up. So a 3 turn cooldown, 3 turn uptime, and then you can provoke all enemies with 100% chance. I've seen people use him in Guild Wars before. I think he might be pretty decent to tank some damage while being on revenge runes. Tank some damage, do some revenge hits, and then armor break the opponent, which makes it easier for your nukers to do damage. How I would ruin him is probably double revenge will, triple HP, and probably with low speed. His HP is 10,215 at max, 6-star max, which is pretty decent. So yeah, this is a pretty decent monster in my opinion. Next up is Cassandra. Cassandra has a 370% multiplier on the first skill, 290 on the second skill, which is an AoE, and third skill is 200 times 2. Her base stats are 9,060 HP and 790 attack. I feel like she's a pretty decent monster for early game, because 2 AoE you can ruin her Despair, and she can probably help your Beretta in TOA. So how her first skill works is that if your advantage, if you have an elemental advantage, you land 2 turn armor break. If you have elemental disadvantage, you land sleep for 1 turn. And if you are equal element, then you land attack debuff. So yeah, this is pretty decent, very flexible. 2 AoE, attack speed decrease, and then this one has a dot. It's not 100%, that's her major downside, but 2 AoE is still pretty decent for early TOA if you want to use Despair. Next up is Randy. So Randy I built a Randy and he kind of disappointed me a bit. So his first skill is a 2-hit, his second skill is a 2-hit times n equals the amount of time that you proc. The amount of times that you proc is 30%. So this one is a 3-turn crit buff and defense buff, but the cooldown is 4 turns, so you have 1 turn downtime. And her base HP is 9060 and his base attack is 626. One thing to mention is that his base speed is 110, which is decent. I feel like so originally I made him for Necro, but then I found out that his buffs overlap with Adrian's, and I feel like Adrian's buffs are strictly better because defense buff for Necro just prolongs the fight and doesn't actually do extra damage, while Adrian's buff increases speed, which is extremely good. So I scrapped him out. And then later on I used him in Guild Wars with Copper. My team was Randy, Copper, Chloe, and it worked a bit, but then later on as the Guild Wars became harder, my Copper couldn't one-shot and stuff like that, or there were too many threats that I kill one unit and then I can't win anymore, and then he needs armor break to do damage, Randy, whereas his first skill only has a 25% chance to ignore defense, so it's not very reliable. And then later on they pushed out in Messy Hall of Heroes. I built a Messy, built Bulldozer, and then I never pretty much ever used Randy again. However, I've seen people use him in Dark Beast, and I'm pretty sure that they ruined him Violent Revenge, attack, crit damage, attack. I want to say that he's pretty good there because first skill ignore defense, which is very good in normal state, and second skill when the opponent has armor break deals pretty good damage in groggy state, and third skill helps the team survive so that they don't die to crush the frontline skill. He's pretty decent for that, and I'll give him that. Next up is Fyro. Fyro is a dot monster. Okay, so this one has a chance to land a dot. This one does max HP damage, and if you crit, you land a dot. And then this one has a AOE that lands 2 dots. So when you compare this monster to a max skill Beretta, he is not as good. However, if you compare this monster to a non-max skill Beretta, he actually lands more dots. Obviously, not max skill Beretta still has turbulence, and this one's a max HP damage, so I think turbulence is better. But this is a nat 3 and he's extremely easy to skill up, while Beretta is not really easy to skill up. The way that I calculated that Beretta lands less is that Beretta lands 2 dots and it lasts 3 turns. So you divide it by 5 turns is 1.2 dots per turn. And Fyro's is you land 2 dots and it lasts 2 turns, but you have a 3-turn cooldown, so it's actually a 1.33 dots per turn. So I think that he's pretty decent, and I will probably definitely ruin him Despair. Probably Despair Blade, Speed Create Attack, or Speed Create HP, depending on if I get hit or not. You want crit because you want your second skill to land a dot as well. Alright, next is Rebecca. So Rebecca has a dot on the first skill. Second skill is an AoE armor break that only becomes 100% if the opponent has beneficial effects. I really want to mention that this is not a good skill because if the opponent has Will Ruins, this does not bypass Will Ruins. So you have to hope that the opponent has Shield Runes only, and then this skill will have AoE armor break. Otherwise it won't, so she's not a good monster in this skill. This one is like a Kona cleanse, except the more harmful effects you have, the more you cleanse. The base is 15%. For every extra beneficial harmful effect, you increase 2% more. I don't think she's worth it, even though her kit seems decent. Her second skill is way too unreliable, so I do not recommend building her. Next up is Sath. Sath can be used as a secret dungeon farmer, and there are people with godlike runes who use him to farm 5 Hell. I think with my runes, I can probably farm 5 mon hard with him, but I don't recommend it either because he has pretty high rune requirements. So his first skill has a reset if you kill someone, second skill is an AoE, and third skill is an AoE. This one has a 220% multiplier, this one has a 320% multiplier. His base attack is 823, his base HP is 8565, but his base speed is only 91. So he has some speed requirements as well because you need to let him move before the Hellhound do so that they don't buff. Alright, next up is Iron. So the only thing that to look out on Iron is his passive. His max HP is increased proportionate to the defense that you enter battle with. So let's say he has 2000. I think it's 200% scaling. No, it's 400% scaling. So if you have 2000 defense, when you go in, you have an extra 8000 HP. But as I said, I think tanks need to bring something else other than just standing there and looking pretty, and I don't think he brings enough. First skill has a chance to stun, and if opponent has armor break on, you can reduce their attack speed. Second skill lands an attack, it lands an armor break. I don't think it's very good because if you want to do damage, you pretty much want armor break on the opponent on the first place. And if you want to set up your first skill with your second skill, then you need violent and you have to hope for a violent proc. So I don't think it's very optimal to use him in this situation, and I don't recommend 6-starring him. Next up is Xiaochun. Okay, so the first skill has a 380% multiplier, which decreases enemy attack. Second skill, if you kill someone, you get another turn. This one has a 540% multiplier. And third skill is 360 times 2. It kind of increases attack, but why would you want to use your strongest nuke to buff? That doesn't really make sense, does it? His base attack is 747, which is okay. Base HP is 8565. Base speed is 99, and you get crit bonus when you awaken. However, I still think he's pretty bad and probably the worst of the Drunken Masters because you never want to use your biggest nuke to buff, and that's that. Next up is Burental. So Burental has a 380% multiplier on the first. Second skill 620, third skill 820. This one removes the beneficial effects, and this one decreases opponent attack bar. And if you crit, you increase your own attack bar. So he's an HP monster. He has pretty low base attack. His base HPs and base defense are okay, but let's just say that he has a 615 attack, okay? And then you're not going to do damage. If you want to use him in dragons, I guess he's okay, but I don't think there's any reason to use him over Megan. If you have a Megan, just use Megan. There's no reason to build him. He is not a very strong monster. Next up is Igmanodon. So Igmanodon's first skill is 130% of his defense, and second skill is 550 to 850%. It looks really good, but his base stats are pretty bad. Third skill has anti-crit, and when the opponent attacks you, there's a chance to decrease the opponent's attack speed. So he has 8750 HP and 648 base defense with 6-star max. He has some hype when raids first came out, and he was used as a frontliner, at least for R4, and the slow kind of helped. But then later on, as people progressed to R5, his base stats seemed a little bit more mediocre, and then people were finding it kind of hard to ruin. And even if they did ruin him, it's a little bit less, it's a bit underwhelming, let's just say, because this one actually doesn't do much at all. It just does damage, and then this one has doesn't do anything as well. So it's just a passive. He's a bit tanky, but if he gets Oblivion, that part of the passive is gone as well. And it's not like he has DS, which reduces damage done to his teammates, right? So if you really want to have to build him, probably go triple revenge, even though his first skill doesn't do anything. It at least is damage, right? Defense HP for frontline. Next up is Gumpion. I'm just gonna call him the Fire Taoist. So this skill has a 30% chance of increasing cooldown of the enemy's skill by 1 turn each. So the maximum you get is increase opponent's skill by 3 turns. However, it's only 30% chance, and it doesn't increase by skill level. So this one's very unstable, and then I don't recommend using him. His attack is 692, which is pretty bad for a nuker, and plus second skill is also 30% of proc. So all of his skills except the first one relies on RNG. He looks okay for TOA hard bosses, but I still wouldn't build him because of these two skills having a low chance of proc. Next up is the Nangrim. So Nangrim is the first skill destroys HP, and second skill has a silence for 2 turns. And the passive pretty much gives you a 15% to ignore defense, and for every hit that doesn't ignore defense, the chance of the next hit ignoring defense is increased by 5%. And yeah, that's not really good, and it's very unstable, and it's 725 attack. People can build him for late game fun unit, but I don't feel like he's good enough. Even Randy has 25%, and people still think he's very not stable when it comes to proccing ignore defenses. Next up is Naki. Oh, so for this one, I would probably build him Violent Will attack good damage attack, and Violent is for the chance to hit once, not ignore defense, and hit again. But yeah. Next up is Naki. Naki's first skill has a stun, second skill decreases attack speed and defense of the opponent, and third skill provokes the enemy for 2 turns with 100% chance at max skill. This is on a 3-turn cooldown, I think, and it's a pretty good skill. It can provoke for 2 turns. I 3-crafted it a little bit, and I feel like he could be good for TOA hard, because, and I mean bosses, because this one has attack speed slow and defense break, which are really pretty much both really crucial for the boss if we want to kill the boss fast enough. And this one has a provoke for 2 turns, so stuff like OGs will be slightly easier, because if they proc once, they can proc again, right? But they still can't use their AoE because you provoke for them for 2 turns. Mav also takes care of provoke, so this one can be kind of used as a backup. So your team will probably look like something like Beretta, Mav, Naki, Spectra, and the Taoist, Water Taoist, something like that. And then you can pretty much control the boss and not really let the boss make a move. He's not gonna make it as a nuker because his base stats are pretty low, and I will not go through those runes. If you want to build him, go Violent and then anything. So because probably Violent Endure, Violent Revenge, etc. Violent Nemesis. This one is a Granite, and this one is a very interesting monster. So when I first read his skills, I felt like he had some pretty decent potential. First skill has a chance to provoke, which is the same as all Mammoths. Second skill has a chance to decrease the enemy's attack bar, and the skill is max HP. And third skill is basically a team up, except the skill armor breaks the opponent first. So what it does is, first of all, it armor breaks the opponent, then you hit together with your teamed up ally, and this one has a multiplier of 30% of your max HP, and his base HP is 11,535. I feel like this is a pretty strong monster. You pretty much want to use him with things that has OP first skills like Theomars. However, I think it's a bit hard for him to be tanky and do damage. So let's say you ruin him HP, crit damage, HP. But then Steel Mars is probably on speed crit damage HP and speed crit damage attack. And then Steel Mars will move before him. But then what you want to do is let him move first, get the armor break off so that your other nuker can finish people off, right? And then you have first skill and second skill as protection for your damage dealer. That's how I would use him. So I feel like speed, HP, violent or even swift is pretty good. And if you really want to use him on HP, crit damage, HP, you have to have really OP ruins and you have to make him faster than your nuker. And I think like that's a pretty difficult task. Okay, so next up is Anne. I think her kit is okay. So this one has a 30% chance to low up attack speed for 2 turns, and it hits 3 times. This one has an AoE, increased attack bar if you crit, and then this one pretty much it stuns all enemies with a 50% chance. So it helps with the first 4 waves of Necro. 3 hit first skill, 2 hit second skill, and third helps with the first 4 stages. So I feel like she's pretty decent for Necro, but I think that it's really not worth it to get so many Cowgirls. The amount of points that you need to max skill 1 is really ridiculous, and it's totally not worth devil mining them either. So if you want to use her, you have to farm a lot of Cowgirls and then feed them all to her, which I think she's not even the best Cowgirl for Necro. So I don't recommend building her, even though she has 700 and something attack, which is okay for a PvE monster. If you have to build her, then go Violent Revenge, attack, revenge, attack, because you always want a revenge set on something that can hit multiple times on the first skill in Necro. Ignisus, I don't know how to pronounce this one, so I'm sorry about that. So his first skill has a 380% multiplier, which gives you crit rate. Second skill is attack speed down, together with attack power down. And then the last one is an armor break, which has a multiplier of 750. His base HP is 9,885 and 637 attack at 6-star max. In my opinion, as a nuker, he has pretty low damage because of the base attack, but as a support, I don't think he brings enough, because the first skill actually doesn't do anything. Armor break is decent, but it has a cooldown, and then second skill is a attack and speed decrease. But I want to say that this one's an AoE, so I guess it could be okay, but currently I don't think I know a build for him that is extremely good, so I don't think he's a very good monster. We are coming to the end. This one is Sin, and there's a really low amount of data on this, so I don't know how the passive actually works. No one really tested out the multipliers. I didn't find it online. So if you really want to know if he's good or not, go check YDCB's video of his test on Sin. The last time I watched it, he said it was pretty bad, and then he de-ruined him. He also tried defense crit damage defense and attack crit damage attack, but then neither did significant damage. So I don't know about this one, so I'll skip this one, okay? Next one is Sonora. This one's an 8% of your max HP damage times 2, which lands a dot. This one is an AoE, and then it does unrecoverable. And then this one's a max HP attack 2 with 18% of your max HP. And his third skill is an interesting one. So let's say there's a scenario when you would get hit for 1000 damage. What would happen is you take 700 damage and 300 damage goes back to the attacker, but then that 700 damage is increased by 30%. So in that case, 30% times 700 is 210. So the amount of damage you take is 910 damage. So in the end, it's actually a 9% damage reduction for yourself, which is actually different than when I first thought. I first thought that he just took 130% damage and reflected 30% back, but apparently not. So his base stat is 10,215 HP, which is pretty decent. And I think people used him in Guardian AD. What they did was bring 2 of these and bring Arena, and then if the nukers wanted to kill this thing, if you want to speed clear this thing, you have to take some damage. And if your nuker took a lot of damage and then died, and then you have nothing else to kill Rena with, and that's their thought process behind this. I think the way to build it would be Vampire Shield triple HP or Despair Revenge triple HP, something like that. And then you can just build him triple shield, energy, endure, whatever. I think it's okay. He serves his purpose as long as his stats are there. I don't think his kit actually has to do anything with the fact that he is put on a Guardian AD except the passive. Alright, so this is a Bulldozer, and Bulldozer is currently one of my favorite monsters. The first skill does 180% of your defense times 2 or 3 hits. So usually it would do 2 hits if the opponent okay, so what happens is when the opponent has a debuff on them, it will do 2 hits. When the opponent does not have a debuff on them, it will do 3 hits. It actually does a lot of damage, and it's a 45% chance to stun on each hit when you have max skill. Second skill is pretty bad. I don't really use it at all. It's max HP scaling, and I'm supposed to build defense on him. And third skill is 160% of your defense times 2, and they can crit. So I'm gonna show you my Bulldozer, and then as you can see, he has around 1800 defense and 212 crit damage. He hits for 4 to 35k. My buildings are currently, my defense is level 6, and my crit damage is max. So he has a lot of crit damage, but not that much defense. Mine is ruined rage will, defense, crit damage, defense. I have to say that I'll go over his runes first, and then you can see. So I feel like he has to have a will set on him. You can go like will shield, and you can go like will guard, whatever, but you really should have a will on him because his third skill actually stuns himself. If you have will runes on him, he won't stun himself, and that's pretty good. It has a 4-turn cooldown, but if you get stunned while you use a skill, it's like having a 5-turn cooldown, if you know what I mean. Alright, so we are going to jump back to the monsters, and we only have 2 more left. Yay! This is a long video, and I apologize because I have a lot to say about these monsters. So Adrian, I use him in Necro. First skill is 100% multiplier times 2 to 3. When you have 100% crit rate, it will always hit 3 times. When you have 0% crit rate, you will only hit 2 times. So yeah. Second skill is 200% multiplier times 4. And third skill has a 4-turn cooldown and 3-turn uptime at max skill. So his stats is 9060 HP and 659 attack. And I feel like he's pretty much a boss for Necro because this skill itself is extremely OP because speed buff bypasses Necro's speed cap, and plus crit rate makes it so that you can kind of lower the rune requirements of your own monsters. This one lands dots and it hits 4 times, so each time has a chance to land it. And this one is a recoverable effect, which is also very important for Necro. Plus he has enough multi-hits to break the shield to help your other nukers do damage. I ruined my Violent Revenge attack crit damage attack. Oh, attack crit rate attack, because I just wanted to get 70% crit rate. And yeah. Next up is going to be our last monster, which is Rakudi. I've seen him in Guild War Defense before, and he was slightly annoying. I was a G2 guild, and I don't think I've only seen one. I think I've seen 2 or 3. I forgot which guild it was. So, how did they ruin them? I believe it was Violent Will, Speed, HP. Seemed tanky. First skill increases the target with lowest attack bar by 15%. Second skill fills up a target's attack bar and increases their speed. So it's like a Kona, except it kind of increases speed instead of attack. And this one is similar to a Veramoth cleanse, except a single target, and it removes 2 harmful effects. So it's like a you can kind of think of it as a Juno's passive, except it only cleanses the target with the lowest HP, and it heals a little bit. So I think it was like decently annoying, but I managed to take it out in the end. I think I still need a little bit more data on this, but I feel like he's a pretty good Hark. Yeah. So we are officially done with the Fire Nat 3s. That definitely took a while, and I apologize for a very long video. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to comment below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Next time, we will be doing the Water Nat 3s, and stay tuned for that. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.